Hey everybody! Welcome to the first YouTube channel video of Tea Time with Tana. Woo! We are finally here, baby. Lately, I have been feeling to discuss writers' grievances. First video is gonna be all about the hardships. And I think that is something to get excited about because too often hardships are downers. And of course, we make light of it with the jokes and the memes, like I had mentioned in my intro, if you had watched it. But I think it's some sort of empowerment that we take something that's typically a very dark, saddening thing and make light of it so that way it doesn't bring us down. However, just because we go through it doesn't mean we don't have to talk about it, and that way, not talking about it means that we're kind of just taking it to the side. But we can still have fun with the hardships, even though at the moment it is not that great. Like, for instance, right now I'm kind of in my own slump with my work in progress, what I will call Project Alpha. Basically, it's a paranormal urban fantasy novel. Actually, it's going to be a series. But the first book is called Project Alpha, is what we'll call it. And it's very intense. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of storytelling. And of course there is a lot, well, to me it's a lot of characters. In the past I have written a book that is on Wattpad at the moment that can be read. It's called She's Just That Kind of Girl. Before it was called Second Chances, which I really liked that title, but it was a little too general and too broad of a title, so I changed it to something a little more specific. But anyway, with that story, I had a good amount of characters. I probably had the same amount of characters as I'm writing about now, but they weren't as complex and have a lot of depth to them, which was fine because it was kind of a light, well, it had some dark elements, but in general it was a pretty light contemporary romance kind of book. So, and the storyline, kind of like a rom-com where it has just enough depth to keep you interested and likable, but nothing really deep below that, like in the real deep parts. And that's what I really loved about that story. I wrote that story when I was 14, and it took me a long time to edit it. It took me years to edit it and finally get it into the world. It's still not like perfect, but it's at a place where I'm comfortable with people reading it and just being like, oh, this is a cute, fun story. And it was just something that really got me not into writing, because I've been writing pretty much since I was around 4 or 5. Pretty much since I could pick up a pencil is pretty much when my whole life I've been writing. And it's definitely not the first book I've ever written. Just the first novel I've ever written and finished and edited to completion and put out into the world. But it was the first story with a little more depth than usual, because every story before that was just kind of cutesy, fun writing. Fan fiction, really, just taking from other books and making it my own, basically. But this story has a lot more characters with depth, so much complexity, and it's anything different than I've written before, so it's taken me a while. And that brings me into the intro of writers' grievances. Let me tell you, I've got some writers' grievances, bad, and it's time to talk about it. First of all, with writers' grievances, I have a whole list, so if my eyesight goes this way, I forget things very easily, so I have to write them down, little cliff notes, so I know remember what I wanted to grieve about. So first one obviously is motivation. I think we all have lack of motivation. That's just not with writing. I think that's just human nature. You know, we get in slumps. For me, when things get overwhelming, I kind of shut down and I lose motivation. And that is my biggest thing. And the things that I have to do to get myself out of it, which is not very often, honestly, it's usually it's either burnout or a creative slump. Usually I have my hands, that's why I have a lot of different creative outlets, because writing used to be my only creative outlet. And now that I've tried to gear toward my career focus toward writing, I have to have other creative outlets from my biggest creative outlet. And it sounds terrible, but I think like that's what we gotta do. So usually I delve into those different things. Reading is not my strongest suit. Really bad at reading. I mean, like, in terms of reading a lot. I mean, I read here and there, but I have so much going on all the time and I'm always exhausted. I feel like I don't have time for reading, which as a writer feels very counterintuitive. But what are you gonna do? Right now, actually, I'm currently reading Nevermore by Neil Gaiman. It's actually pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't made it past chapter like 3 yet, but so far I like it. I've just been doing so much with writing because NaNoWriMo's here now, so I'm trying to focus on that to kind of get me going on my writing again. I have about 32,000 words so far on Project Alpha, and with NaNoWriMo, I'm hoping to get near 50,000 words. Knowing myself, I probably won't make it there. Is it a goal? Yes, but is that like my ultimate primary goal? No, because I don't want to stress myself out like that. Like I said, if I stress myself out too much, I get overwhelmed and I'm just like, no. So I'm at least hoping to get maybe around 35,000 more words. I honestly don't know how big this book is going to be. There's a lot of things going on in this book, so I'm really hoping to aim around 110,000. And it sucks because when I wrote my first book when I was 14, it was so much easier because I just puked onto the page like it was nothing. And I had like 200-something thousand words on that first book, and I was like, at the time I thought that was good, like, oh yeah, all of those words, that's awesome. And then of course I did my research when I got, much more educated and realized it was supposed to be maybe around 90,000 to 100,000. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. So when I edited it, well, the first time, it was rough. The first draft is always so embarrassing. Especially when you wrote it at 14. Because when I wrote it, I let it sit for probably about 6 years before I actually touched it. I was going through a lot in my life in between those ages. So when I did finally was like, you know what? I'm going to get serious. I'm going to edit this book. I'm going to get it done so I can publish it out into the world. I literally wanted to stab my eyes out with scissors and then shove them in my ears because it was so bad, guys. It was like, well, a 14-year-old wrote it basically. But now I had to go back and give my characters more depth because it really was bad, guys. There were so many characters that didn't really need to be in the story, so I had to cut a lot of characters out, kind of morph them into other characters that I wanted to keep to how to kind of make them more. And it gave them more depth and, of course, more role in the story, which was good. And it was cool. It was like taking my fanfiction 14-year-old self and making it into something actually to be pretty proud about. And it kind of ended up being a better story than what I originally, as a 14-year-old, wanted it to be. And I think that was the beauty of it. After I got down to about 110,000 words. So I went from 200-something thousand words. I basically cut the story in half. I really wanted to get more toward like 100 to 95,000, but it just wasn't possible. So, but I was proud. I was proud that I had done that, and I'm gonna eat a grape, by the way. It was really good. I haven't ate all day. So sorry. Anyway, for Project Alpha, the writer's grievances with that really is just motivation because I got stuck. I got stuck on chapter 8, I think it is. It's basically, so the story really is that there's a paranormal group called Moonlight Investigations, and they're a pretty famous investigator group because they have their own TV show and everything. And then my main character, Athena Alexander, is also a paranormal investigator, but she has special gifts from God. As a medium, she can see and speak to ghosts. She helps them cross over into the white light, which she can create from her mind, and that helps them cross over to the other side so they don't stay earthbound. And she works locally. I mean, she works by word of mouth throughout her community, and she's helped a lot of people, and she's very experienced. And she has a best friend who also has spiritual gifts that can see and speak to spirits crossed over to the other side, and she can speak to angels. So they work together, and they have their own like little paranormal investigation team. They go around, they help people with loved ones. It's mostly loved ones or just like little spirits that just haunt. More in depth about that in the story, of course, later. So both investigative teams end up investigating the same case. So the owners of a ranch, call it Shaw Cattle Ranch, it's haunted. So the owners that had bought it got all the house renovated and the saloon back up and running. It used to be like a really local saloon that eventually got shut down. They used to make their own beer. That's a fun little additive. But they realized that there's all these hauntings going on, and they were like, well, what do? We need to get rid of these ghosts, or else we can't stay here. It's a safety issue. So they call Moonlight Investigations. Well, Viola, who is Athena's best friend, roommate, and paranormal partner. So Viola gets visions about cases from her angel. So one of the cases that she gets in this particular instance in this book is, they don't really know what it is yet, but they do some digging, and eventually it leads them to this ranch. Well, Moonlight Investigations is already there, and so now it's on. So there's Viola, Athena, and then the Moonlight Investigations group is Eli, Beatrix, Hunter, and Jason. And they all end up investigating together, basically. So in chapter 8 is really the first instigation. So it's got me a little pressure, because it's like the first threshold part of the story. So if you're writing your story by the hero's journey, or if you don't know what the hero's journey is basically a structure for writing, and mostly fantasy novels. I feel like it's a really good tool in general for all stories. If you have a story with a lot of depth and a lot of characters, it's a really good structure to use, even if you don't use all the elements of it. I think it is great for the groundwork, the bones of a story, to help you get started. So for me, I use the hero's journey because it's very helpful. Otherwise, it would just be mass chaos. But I'm basically in the first threshold part of it. And to me, that's like a really big deal, because that's where you really introduce your story and your characters and what they're capable of, like in the first get-go of your story. So it's a very important start or part in your book. It really needs to be a punch, like a good punch, because it sets the tone for the rest of the story. So it's a lot of pressure in my brain. It's all chaos up here. I'm really stuck there motivation wise. The overwhelmingness has brought me down. But with NaNoWriMo, even though it pained me, I only wrote 451 words last night. To be fair though, I have been working 50-hour plus weeks, as in 2 weeks, and then in the week before those 2 weeks, I was gone for a week helping with my grandmother, who's 90. And so I was helping with that, and I didn't get much sleep up there, and I haven't been getting much sleep since I've been back, so it's been chaos. Anyway, the motivation part of it has been tough because of sleep. But I got 450 words in. I hope to get more in today. That's a whole nother story. The exhaustion has really brought in the overwhelmingness of it and the lack of motivation. So that is one writer's grievances that I have. And then the biggest part really is procrastination too, because I am very big into procrastination. That's why I try to write as much as I can on my iPad with my typewriter keyboard, because it's highly unlikely I can procrastinate and get distracted. I am very easily distracted. I think I have ADD and not ADHD, because I'm not hyper, but my brain is hyper, but me physically I'm not hyper. I'm actually very too lax, honestly. downfalls of that. Like, if I was on my laptop writing this, I would be on Pinterest, I would be on Instagram, I would be on all the social medias, distracting myself in any which way possible. Pinterest is probably my favorite procrastination point because of pictures. Just the aesthetic that I have created for myself on there is just too good to resist, guys. Too good. Plus, all of y'all on there are just like making creative art and posting it on there. It amazes me. Pinterest has been, obviously, I think for most writers, my most sought out place to go in terms of inspiration. When I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I do. But I don't have a visual, but I have an idea. I go to Pinterest and I instantly find something pretty close or like right on point. So it really is my favorite place to procrastinate, but I have to get myself over that hump. So but it's a great place to go for when you have procrastination or lack of motivation, because it really has an inspiring spark to it. Most of the time when I procrastinate, it's because I'm feeling disengaged or I'm not inspired. So I have to go somewhere that's going to, spark it. Pinterest really is the best place to go for that, in my opinion. And AI has surprisingly been pretty good about that. I mean, I have some gripes about AI, but we're not going to get into that. That would be way too long, and I don't want to make this video that too long. And then that's the biggest thing as well, is uninspired. And really, when I'm feeling uninspired, it really comes down to the plotter part of me fighting against the pantser part of me, and vice versa. It's like mass chaos, because the plotter side of me wants everything to be pristine and proper, and like every word is like freaking life or death. And if it's bad, it's like, I cannot believe I just wrote garbage, and I can't. And that's why last night was hard, because I was literally like, you're supposed to do sprints, or at least try to get as much done writing as you can, however much time you have. For me, last night, I had a good amount of time. I did procrastinate a lot, to be honest. It's hard. It really is hard. But like, I was stuck in that chapter, and that's why it was hard, because I was literally just kind of making stuff up as I was going, and it was very scary. I was having literally a heart attack. I'm like, I'm literally writing garbage right now, and it really gave me a lot of anxiety, but I had to push through it to make sure I at least got 451 words, which, by the way, is only 1% done on NaNoWriMo. I looked at it and I was like, that's sad. So I put a sad face. My writer friend Jen, because I was FaceTiming her in the moment, because we were kind of sprinting writing together. And I was sharing my screen with her, and I forgot, and I put my word count and I put a sad face, and she started cracking up. And I was like, it's how I feel. I feel so sad. It's only 451 words, and NaNoWriMo is telling me it's 1%. Thank you very much for that. As if I didn't need to feel like shit already. But it's fine. It really is, like I said, the pantser is trying to take the reins when the plotter has had the reins for so long, and the plotter is like, you cannot have the reins. They are mine forever and ever, and you are not allowed to just be wild all over this page. Cannot happen. It did happen, and it wasn't the best, but it's not bad, because I mean, people are right. You write garbage, you can fix it later, and it's fine. It's just, it's the part of me that doesn't want to let go of that control. So that's where the uninspired comes in. Typically, though, when I'm feeling uninspired about, like, for instance, chapter 8, I'm feeling a little uninspired because I don't really know what I want to happen there yet. So what I do is I skip around. I'll write scenes or chapters where I know things are going to happen, like it's a set, done deal. And those are usually pretty easy to write, because you already know what's going to happen. You already kind of know what it's going to look like, what the character's going to say, what they're going to do, what's going to happen. Even if you don't know really specifically what's going to happen or what the character's going to do, you at least know the structure. Like chapter 9, I know exactly what's going to happen in chapter 9. That follows right after chapter 8. but I don't know what's going to happen in chapter 8. It sounds weird to know what's going to happen right after something that you don't know what's going to happen, but it's a thing. It works, I promise. It's like you have bits and pieces of the story, but you have to make them fit, and you don't have the other pieces just yet, so you're just kind of playing Tetris, and it's building blocks, and it's, you know, eventually I'm gonna have to go back and change something so it fits better, but at least I'm getting it done. Maybe not in the sequence order, but however you get it done is how you get it done. I mean, there is the downfall that even though you're skipping around and writing, you will have to go back and make sure that it all kind of fits, because, you know, you might have set up foreshadowing, you didn't put later on in, or you put something later on, like you put something in the late part of the book, but then you have to go back and you have to add foreshadowing. I mean, you don't always have to, but for me, the big parts that I'm going to be writing, I'm probably going to have to go back and add some foreshadowing. So, skipping around has its benefits, but it also will have its downfalls, as do every side of writing does. But it's fun. I enjoy doing it that way. I actually have never, ever skipped around and done writing like that before, ever, in anything I've written. This is the first time I've ever done that. It's actually been quite fun. It takes a lot of pressure off, so I do recommend, if you are having a little bit of a slump, you can also try writing from a different point of view. In my project Alpha, there are multiple point of views. It was just going to be 2 point of views, but now, first person also. But now I realize I'm going to have to do other characters. So that's going to be fun. Yay me. I always create more work for myself. The madness continues. And then of course, everyone knows number 3, writer's block. Writer's block really is pretty much a lot of the things that I listed before. However, there is a side of writer's block that I feel like isn't discussed, is when you feel great, you feel motivated, you feel inspired, you're getting in your mojo, you get to your keyboard, and you're about to type, and you realize you don't know what to say or what to do. Everything, the blank space, the blank page finally actually becomes your brain, and you're like frozen. It's like getting up on stage and you're feeling good, but the moment you're up there, you freeze and you're like, I don't remember what words are. Ugh. So it's like your brain just empties and dumps on itself. It's not fun. Writer's block isn't fun for anybody. No one is saying out there like, oh yeah, writer's block is the best. What are you talking about? For realsies. It's like all play and party, but no work and no hustle, in my opinion. You just wanna get down, get about, but then there's no work or anything involved. So that is a writer's grievance that I would like y'all to tell me if you agree or not, or if I'm just crazy, because that could also be it. I hope not. I really hope not. God, I hope not. I feel like a lot of it though is pressure. I think we as writers like to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, because there's already so much pressure in general, not only with writing in as itself, but then once you get it done and all the steps you have to take to, I mean, you could either traditionally publish or you could self-publish, and obviously traditional publishing can be a lot more difficult because, you know, in order to get an editor with a big major publishing house, you have to have an agent, so therefore you have to query and go to writers' workshops and pitch, so like it can be very, very stressful and a lot of pressure. It's important to, when you're writing, not to try and focus on that as you're writing. Writing really should just be for you, and I think that's where you have to put your focus on, is because if you start to focus about everything outside of it, it will really, really pull you down if you start to think too hard about it. You just have to find the fun in it when you can. Because there are, of course, elements that it will drag you down, even when it is supposed to be just for fun. But there is that part where you have to try and drive yourself to get it done. Don't be so hard on yourself. I feel like there's so much pressure. Like, you have to, try and get your book done in a year, or get it done within a few months. I mean, if you're writing a simple little story, sounds good. If you're really just trying to rush to get that first draft done, that's fine, I guess. But, I'm just the kind of person that doesn't want to put that kind of pressure on myself, because I do have a full-time job. I also do my own creative content. I have to do these videos and edit them, and then I have my social media managing. I do my own social media managing. I have my hand in a lot of pots, and sometimes writing can get snuffed to the back, unfortunately. It sounds very not good and not okay, but it's fine, because I do also enjoy creating content. And sometimes I want to focus on that versus my writing, because right now my writing is kind of bringing me down, but my creative content is kind of giving me that nudge I need to get back up to motivation where I can write it. That's part of the creative outlets that I was talking about earlier. So it's okay if you don't get it done within a year or two. Yeah, Stephen King pumps out like 1 or 2 books a year, but sorry. Diana Gabaldon. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, so I'm very sorry. But she, at least, she pumps one out like every 4 to 5 years, and she lets her readers know ahead of time that, hey, this is going to take me a long time to write, edit, get it perfect for y'all. So please be patient, because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of research, energy. I'm sure she's got other things that she's doing and got going on. So, us writers, we have lives too, Not all of us are living off of the income of writing, so be nice to us. Please. But anyway, so the pressure, try not to put so much pressure on yourself, because sometimes I do that to myself, and I'm like, it overwhelms me, and that's when I shut down. So the less pressure you put on yourself and your writing, the better and more motivated you're gonna feel. It's easier said than done. Believe me, I know. And that is part of the writer's grievances. So, I don't know if this is just me. It could be just me, because I might have a lot of things wrong with me, and it's fine. It's totally fine. But seasonal blues, I feel like, especially with writing, you're gonna go through seasons where you're just not feeling it. Like, writing is not something that you were either meant to do, or it's not a passion anymore, or you're not feeling inspired about the story anymore. What have you. Whatever it is, it's seasonal. It feels seasonal, because sometimes you can pull yourself out of it, and sometimes you can't. And sometimes you find something different, and it's fine, like, to write about. I have definitely gone through seasonal blues where, like, for my first book, I wrote it, I loved it, and it was great, and I went back 6 years later. Yes. And it just wasn't like a passion for me for that story anymore, because it was what I was about at that age. But, as you get older, your tastes change, your interests change. You want to tell different stories, and so editing this book feels like it's a waste of time. But it was good, because it was my first real novel that I wrote, and it was something at the time I was proud about. And I'm still proud about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very proud about that story. It could be better. There is no, and therefore I think every writer thinks anything that they write could be better, but it really could be better, because it really still does feel like fan fiction, but at least it has a little more depth to it. But I really did went through seasonal blues with that, and with Project Alpha, I do go through some seasons, because I've been writing this book for technically about 2 years now, and there have been major ups and downs with it, but it's still a story I want to tell. I'm still very passionate about it. It's just, you group all the previous grievances we've talked about so far together, and it just creates this general aura or general sense of just blues, seasonal blues. It's like feeling single for too long or something, where you go through seasons where you're like, I want a date, and then no, I don't, and then I want a date, and then no, I don't. It's the same thing with writing. I want to write, I don't want to write, I do, I don't. So I feel like every writer kind of goes through that at some point, and it's totally fine. I mean, that's totally normal. All these things that we're talking about, so normal, but it's something that you get out of eventually. I just particularly wanted to talk my first video about this because I'm currently going through it, and I want to bitch about it. Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. I feel like a lot could relate to it right now. I just want y'all to know that, you're not alone in the seasonal blues, because we all gotta pull through this together. We all have stories that we want to tell, and they're all awesome. So let us all talk about it, go through it together, pump each other up, and get back to that writing. But I am also not done. I still have a little more grievances to talk about. This is probably my biggest grievance right now, because all the other ones, are typical. They come, they go, they come, they go. This one actually has been around for a while. I have my friend Jen. I've known her since, it feels like forever, since birth, but really, I've known her since, I've known of her since 2nd grade, but I don't think we actually became friends until, I want to say it was 5th grade. She might have something different to say, I don't know. So she also writes. We've known each other for that long, and she writes, and that's been awesome. She's been my longest writing friend that I've had, so since elementary, basically, or middle school. I've known her since elementary school, but of course, friends since middle school. So she's been my biggest cheerleader, and I am so thankful for her. And then I have recently made writer friends also as well through friendship apps and stuff. But the issue is and it's nothing to them. They take as long as they need to with their writing and everything. And I know Jen is getting a lot better. She's getting a lot better about her writing. But I do want more of a community of writer friends, because a lot of the time when you're writing, you need like an accountability buddy. It's like the same concept about friends who go work out together. You are accountable for each other to make sure you get up and go to the gym and work your ass off. And it's fun to do because you have someone to do it with, and you're making sure you're both doing it and you're achieving your goals. Why not do that with writing? Because writing is like going to the gym. Sprints are basically like gym sprints or whatever. So, like, finding friends who will encourage you and help you keep accountable for writing, kind of like what NaNoWriMo does for November, but like every month. You have someone that is like, okay, you're going to answer this FaceTime call, we're going to get our keyboards out, we're going to do this, we're going to write. And you write for however long, and you figure out how much word count you did, and bada bing, bada boom. You got some writing done, and you've made progress, and that way you don't feel so not writerly, basically. Because it really is just making sure you get those words on the paper. Just like you gotta make sure your legs get yourself to that gym, and you are working them puppies out. Locally, it's hard to find writers in my area that are my age. And then, of course, that is what social media and online, the World Wide Web, is for. But it's different for me because I did grow up in an age where technology was just starting to boom. It wasn't exactly where it is now, but you were still going outside and being social and doing all of the things. And to me, being social is part of the writing experience in person. And I really love the in-person aspect. Like this year I had to do Florida writing workshop completely online, which was fine. It was fun. I mean, I enjoyed being home and just, learning all the things I needed to learn. At the same time, I was really excited because the first writing workshop I ever went to was in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was in person. Of course, that was before COVID and everything. But it was such a fun experience. I stayed in a hotel with my mom, and it was in the same hotel that they were hosting the workshop, so it was so convenient. And you went to these conference rooms and you sat in and you listened to writers talk and give their experiences and everything, and it was fun, and you got to talk to other authors face to face. That was my favorite part. And then you got to pitch face to face to agents, which I feel like it's a lot different of a presence than just Zoom call pitching. To me, Zoom call pitching was a lot more stressful because I feel like when you do it in person, you get more of a feel for somebody. I mean, yeah, it's more about your writing for sure, but people still judge you on first impressions. And that's with any job, that's with anything that you're doing. And if you can at least get a good up front, they're going to feel a little more comfortable, a little more confident about maybe like what your story and what it's going to be about and your writing in general. And, when I went to that Georgia Writers Conference, I actually pitched to an editor. I should have pitched to an agent first, but I was just so excited. I just wanted to get to an editor. I pitched one of my other projects to her, and she loved it. She gave me her card and she said, when you get an agent, have her send me your work. And I was like, awesome. She was with HarperCollins, and for me that was just so exciting. It's like one of the top 5 publishing houses, and she was super nice, and I was just blown away that she was even interested in. To me, that's a huge honor because, even if they end up rejecting your story, at least they had interest. And if you at least have interest, that means you will actually have a following. There will be a following of interest for it. And I feel like that's where we kind of get lost in all of it is, if you don't get an agent or you don't get an editor, it's not because it was trash. It just wasn't what they were looking for, what they thought it was going to be. And that's fine. It's totally fine. At least the interest was there. And I think that is the most important part, because if your story was absolute garbage, they wouldn't have even bothered to take a look. And I feel like that is something to be proud about. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. But I feel like also because when you're in person and you have that same energy going, you're putting it out there, it's just a different experience than when you're doing it through a Zoom call. And that's just me personally. I like, it's funny because I've always been an introvert, but I feel like I'm more of an ambivert now, because I actually do like being one-on-one with people. I don't exactly like getting up on stage and doing speeches or whatever, because that's a lot of pressure. My introvert self is literally shaking right now. But it's nice to communicate with other writers, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. But other writing people who are serious about it, they're actively trying to work on it, whether it's in their head, whether it's on the paper, whether they're making notes. I mean, at least they are actively being serious about it and not just like working on it here and there. Because I need other friends. I have writer friends, and they are great, and they are doing what they can with their situations, and that's totally fine. But like, I want a community of other people who are sharing this passion to write and get it done, and it's because that helps motivate others, So that is my biggest grievance, and I am wondering if anyone else is feeling that same way, or if it's just me. I know I've seen on TikTok, Writer Talk, a lot of people are feeling that same way though, so I feel like I'm not completely alone in that spectrum of things. So that's comforting. Another grievance is about the agents, the querying, and being too broke to go to like workshops or conferences or retreats even. I see these awesome writing retreats and I want to go, but they're like $5,000 or less, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. But I would love to get away in like a wintry storm, locked up in a cabin somewhere where I will have nothing to do but to just write and just do those things that I so desperately need to do. Anyway, especially in this economy, being broke is like the norm. So I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. But also, I just want to go somewhere and disappear. And just come back with a fully fleshed out novel and ready to conquer the world. This is what I want. Agents and the querying. That's a fun topic. I've done many querying. Much querying. There we go. And it's been, it's funny because querying to me is not, it's not something I take personally. I mean, I know a lot of authors who get very discouraged about the querying process, and it brings them down to a point where they're not writing for months or years. I mean, I don't know, but I just feel like you're looking about it at the wrong way. I mean, either you can take that and just self-publish, or you keep pushing, because eventually I feel like you will find someone who's going to stick up for you and your writing, who's going to be really interested and is going to do everything in their power to get your book where it needs to go. I know a lot of us have heard all the great authors of our time who went through the same struggles, and they eventually got their break. J.K. Rowling got rejected I think it was 12 times before she got her big break. Was an agent who took her on, and it turned into this giant thing, and I feel like that's very inspiring, because who the hell would reject J.K. Rowling? But of course, at the time, she wasn't J.K. Rowling. She was J.K. Rowling. So, I mean, I don't know anything about the querying process with Stephen King, but I mean, every great author that is on the shelves has faced rejection. It's not something new that's just happening to us, It's just being passionate about our book and knowing that, keep pushing, because eventually someone is going to get you, realize this is awesome, and then they're going to be like, you know what, the whole world should know how awesome this is. And bam, it's going to happen. You just have to believe it. I truly believe that if you have confidence and belief in yourself and with God, it's all going to work out. And you don't have to worry about it. You just have to get the story written, and that's all you got to do. And then you got to, make sure you do the pitching, you get all the words moved around just right, and it's going to happen. Believe it, people. Believe it. Querying is not something to be defeated about. Every rejection gets you closer to your yes. All it takes is one. And you know what? Even if that agent doesn't work out, you got a yes from an agent. So that means you will get another yes from another agent if you end up realizing, the agent that said yes to you, y'all don't really mesh, because that will happen with some of us in general. Just know that querying is not meant to be like this gaping black hole that sucks your soul out. Remember that. Harness the rejection and be like, all right, I'm one rejection closer to my big break. Another grievance I have: technology sucks. And as I video this, I hope my computer doesn't crash on me. But that is the biggest grievance. Is technology is great when it works, and then technology is not so great when it doesn't work. And I have a great story about that. It still makes me want to cry every time I think about it. My first computer was a PC. It wasn't Apple, which I know it doesn't really speak much, but at the time, it was probably around 2010, somewhere in those years. I had written. It was supposed to be like a knockoff of Nancy Drew, right? Because when I was younger, my biggest obsession was mysteries and thrillers and Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and the Boxcar Children and Dixie Belden, the Bobbsey Twins. I mean, I'm talking all the children mystery books that exist. I was reading them and I was obsessed. So I had created my own mystery series with twins, Montana and Mantana. We're not even going to get into that Mantana part, but it was a thing. And I had written probably about 3, maybe 4 books in that series, because it was supposed to be like a serial series, like Nancy Drew, without the multiple writers for every book sort of deal. So what happened is my computer crashed and I had lost all of them. And it was so devastating. I'm still devastated by it. That is one thing I will never, ever get over with technology. I have a grudge against technology, and that is the root. That is the seed that was planted in me, and it just has festered and grown into this giant revenge tree. And I still don't know how I'm going to plot my revenge against technology, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Anyway, so I lost all of, at least the computer stuff. I still have books I've written as a kid in notebooks. This was like, because I got a computer when I was much older, probably like 11 or 12. So before that, I was writing everything by hand in notebooks, and I was writing in class, and I had them taken away, and teachers were like, you need to really start concentrating on schoolwork and stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do that. I have childhood, I still have some stories that I've written as a child, but those were my favorite, even though they were embarrassing, because I read them a little bit. I had let them sit again, and I reread them when I was older, and I was like, this is trash, but at least it was fun, and I could, edit it, and it'll be fine. Well, I lost it all, so I couldn't even do that if I wanted to. But I do have so like Nancy Drew came out with this pop-up book. So basically it was a book of all of her mysteries, and it has like these little pop-up, pop-out, like interactive parts to it. I actually have it still. It's down there somewhere. I loved it, and I was like, you know what? I want to make my own for Montana and Mantana mysteries. So I made my own book, and I still have it because I made it all by hand. This is a lot of fun. I go through it sometimes just because when you're a kid, you have so much time on your hands to do crafts and dream and create, and it takes me back to the nostalgic days where I had time to just do all these things and just have fun and not worry about any of the logistics about any of it. But it's my favorite to just reminisce about when the writing process was just all about fun and not caring about if every word was perfect on the page. It just was what it was. And so, but like little things like that, I keep those because not only is it something I did, but it's something that helps remind me of why I started this writing journey and why I love talking to other writers and talking about their characters and their worlds and stuff with them. It's just, and like, because a lot of y'all have been doing it just as long as I have, and I feel like that is something that's so cool. It's like the Taylor Swift song, "You're on Your Own, Kid." It's like my favorite song off of Midnight's part where she talks about just to learn that my dreams aren't rare. That part hits the hardest because you realize that this dream is hard, but it's also it's not a dream that only you have. Others have this too, and that's why it makes it hard. But I think what's really great is that we're not against each other. We're doing this together. We're harnessing the fact that we all have the same dream, and we all want to help each other get there. And I think that is the most precious thing about the writing community, is that, it could be about pitting each other against one another, but it's not. And I feel like that some of the most genuine people are writers, because we really put all of our blood, sweat, soul, and tears into our writing, and it's genuine, and and that's why it sucks, but it's also so awesome. And I just truly just love that. So, another thing I hate about technology, got off on a little rant there. Like yesterday, I was trying to post one of my stories on Facebook, and it said that due to an error on their part, they couldn't post my story. And I was like, what the living I just was like, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with this right now, because if I do, I will lose my shit. Later I went on there, and it did post. It did fix itself, and I was like, thank God, because I don't want to have to do this again and get the same error and just get re-frustrated all over again. Technology, it really is pitted against me sometimes, and I just hate it. How much that I have to depend on technology to get my content out there and working properly. Oh, and let me get down to my last grievance. I cannot believe I've already spent an hour griping. Bear with me here. My last grievance before we close this little thing here that we've created is that I'm basically a night owl with an early bird work schedule. And by that, I'm sure you know what I mean, but by that I mean is I love to write late. I'm inspired literally between the hours of 10 and 2. And guess what time I have to get up for work? 7:30. So that's why I set my alarm to get my maximum 8 hours of sleep that I need to 10:45. I should be going to bed at 10:45 to be getting the sleep I need to succeed for the next day. And guess what? I typically don't go to bed until midnight at minimum. Of course, lately I've been trying to go to bed earlier than that because I've been dead inside for 3 weeks and I really need to catch up on sleep, which my day off today I did, so yay me. But most of the time I'm up till midnight because I'm writing, creating content. I'm trying to get back more into reading, which is a chore in and of itself for me for some reason. And just trying to do all the things that I need to do. And I am not good at time management. I'm here to tell you, I am terrible. And I'm trying to get better because honestly, in order for this to work, I need to get better. So we'll see. But yeah, I have a normal 9 to 6 job. And I'm usually really tired at work because I'm up too late writing or doing all the things I need to do to get my content up and running. And it's pitting against me every day. The older I get, the more I feel it, and it's weird because as a teenager, I've been doing this since I was a kid. So doing it now, as you get older, it gets harder and harder and harder. You feel it more and more and more, and it's not great. I don't like getting older. I don't recommend it. Y'all need to make sure you find a way to turn back time and make aging go backwards. Like Benjamin Button, except I don't want to become a baby. I want it to stop at like 5. If y'all can find a way to do that, sign me up. I have to find out. I'm probably going to see if I'm going to try and start to get up earlier. I cannot believe I just said that. Now I have to be held to that accountability. All right, let's retract this. I should probably like get up at 5 and then do what I can in that time span and see if that works for me best, and then of course go to work, and then I would come home, make my dinner, feed my puppy, eat, maybe have like an hour of like reading, watching TV, whatever, and then go to bed. That's basically what I would have to do and become a true grandma, as I already am by soul nature. Why not just go all the way, right? That's what I was thinking. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna do that, because honestly the thought of waking up at 5 a.m. makes me want to cry. It's fine, because I'm not a morning person anyway, so we'll just have to see how that goes. So yeah, that was all of my writer's grievances. I'm sure there's more that I will think of later, but for now, that's pretty much my writer's grievances. Tell me what your writer's grievances are, and if you we share the same grievances, or if you have more to add. I always want to hear from you guys, and just to see, am I crazy? Or are we crazy together? Because either way, it's fine. Before we close this video, though, I did want to read a quick verse from the Bible about writing. I found this verse, and it brings me comfort in this Bible verse for this specific video of writer's grievances. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 4. God offers comfort to all. All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all of our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. And I felt like that verse really speaks to this video, and everything I've tried to accomplish with it is to grievance about mine, and then therefore empower it, and then like give comfort back with you. And so I'm hoping that's what this video did for you. And I want to close this out with just a quick prayer. If you want to join, awesome. If not, I understand, and that is completely fine too. So dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for giving me the courage and the confidence to start this YouTube channel and to do my first video. It has been so much fun, and I hope everyone else feels the same. Please protect and look out for all of the viewers and subscribers on this video channel, and even those who are not. Please protect them through all the evils of the world and all the negative energy that is encompassing this earth right now. Please help everyone in their endeavors of writing. Please help inspire. Please help protect, and please help nourish. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Sorry, that was rough. I'm not really good at praying out loud. I'm working on it though. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that this was, if not helpful, at least entertaining. And it was just really nice to talk and speak my truth and my grievances, and I really hope y'all feel the same. And if you do, please comment below and let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you like where this content is going so far, please subscribe, and please follow me on Instagram. I got a bunch of fun little things I've got going on there in terms of tea time, fun little video clips of making fun of just the writing process, which I love a good meme and I love a good joke. So, but if you're all about that, please follow. It is under all of my social media is under Tea Time with Tana. So Instagram is, my username is Tea Time with Tana, and it's in the links in my about me page, and I will see if I can't try and figure out how to put it somewhere on this video too. And thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.